Make sure to stick around to the end of the video to learn exactly how to use fast cascading pentatonic lines in your solos just like that. You may have seen this video of mine from a few years ago.
Mini lesson time. For years, I've wondered how guys like Eric Johnson and Joe Bonamassa play these really, really fast pentatonic licks where they're changing direction, they're like ascending, and then all of a sudden they're descending pentatonic.
The crazy thing is that I stumbled onto this secret while teaching my fiance how to play the pentatonic scale. Like many, she was struggling with changing direction on the high E string and walking back down the pentatonic scale, which becomes a massive problem when you're trying to play licks like this. The situation looks something like this. Try this real quick. Do it one more time, but on the way back, throw in the 14th fret of the high E right there. The secret lies in the picking, and when you have the correct picking technique and strategy, fast pentatonic runs become easy and reliable. Today I'll be showing you what the correct technique is, what strategy are we using when playing fast pentatonic runs, how to practice and master these runs, and a couple awesome licks to start using in your playing today. Let's get started with the proper technique. Everything for today is going to be using alternate picking technique, which is always going to be going down, up, down, up, down, up. Always. Next, and this is also very, very important, we're using a downward pick slant. A downward pick slant looks like this. It's in the right hand when we lower it like this. Ends up burying our downstroke into the next string, where an upstroke frees us. Buried, freed. We are not going to be using an upward or neutral pick slant. Here's an upward, is complete different rotation of the hand. And here's a neutral. We're always going to be using a downward pick slant. So always make sure you're 100% of the time alternate picking and using a downward pick slant. Now the next important part of the technique, which is going to work itself out assuming you follow the rigid alternate picking protocol, but keep in mind you always want to be changing strings with a downstroke. So for example, if we're going to the E string to the A string, we're leaving the E string with an upstroke and landing on a downstroke onto the A string, something like this. Up on 15, and then I'm changing strings on a down. On that topic, we also need to keep in mind, part of the strategy and the secret today is making sure there's an even amount of notes per string, never an odd amount of notes per string. So we always want to have like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, whatever we're doing, never 1, 3, 5, 7. If we do that, it's going to mess up our picking, slow us down, make us sound sloppy, and we'll never be able to play these fast cascading pentatonic runs. All right, now what is the strategy that we're going to be using to perform these licks? It's very simple. The strategy is to always make sure our technique that we just went over is always dialed in. We're always alternate picking, we're always using a downward pick slant, we're always changing strings with a downstroke, and we're keeping an even amount of notes per string. If we do that, our technique is going to be locked in, therefore the strategy will always work, making fast pentatonic runs easy. If we ever break those rules, it's going to change the technique, making these runs a lot more difficult. Now this technique might sound limiting because there's so many rules. You might be like, how are we going to make this sound cool and fun and exciting? The crazy thing is that it kind of opens up more possibilities, more ideas than you'd ever think about. And the crazy thing is whenever you come up with them, once you have the technique down, you can pretty much play them right there on the spot, because it's, as long as it's following that technique and you have it down, you'll be able to play it pretty much instantaneously. So as we go through this video, keep the technique, always alternate picking, using a downstroke, changing strings on a downstroke, and making sure you're always playing an even amount of notes per string. We're going to start off going through fundamentals, fundamental exercises that will lock in and help you muscle memorize and also use this technique in your playing as fast as possible. These fundamental exercises are going to be the necessary foundation that we use when we build out to the other examples in today's video. After that, we're going to be going through sixes and position shifting sixes, which is also very important if you ever want to get that kind of Eric Johnson and Joe Bonamassa, Andy Wood, all the guys like that. If you ever want that sound, we also need to master the sixes. Step 3, we're going to dive into how we can actually use this strategy to help us add flavor notes. We also see Joe Bonamassa and Eric Johnson do this as well. This actually opens up a tons of horizons of outside of the pentatonic notes that we can easily bring in to help spice up and add flavor to our fast runs. And the crazy thing is it doesn't make the technique or the playing any harder. It actually, if anything, makes it easier. All right, the fourth thing, we're gonna go over a couple different licks that really incorporate all these different techniques all into one so you can practice and use in your solos today. And on that topic, if you want bonus licks and also tab for everything we covered today, check out my Patreon. It's linked down below. For just $2 a month, you can get access to all my Patreon lessons with tab, and especially this one. There's a lot of stuff going on in today's video, so if you want access to that, check out my Patreon. It's linked down below. All right, last thing, which is also very, very important, if not the most important thing, is how to practice and get this into your playing, starting from 0 all the way up to be playing these insane runs. All right, last thing, and we're gonna be diving right into the guitar. Everything today is based around E minor pentatonic. Now there's sometimes we'll be building into the kind of E minor scale or G major scale. Other times it might be bringing in kind of Dorian notes or blues notes, but it's all based around that E minor pentatonic. And the importance of that is please go learn all 5 of your pentatonic scales. Obviously you can get a lot out of today's video without knowing that, but knowing that's gonna make everything we talk about today so much easier. All right, let's start off by looking at the wrong way to play the pentatonic scales and correcting it. That was wrong, because what happens at the high E string here is, let's check it out. The first ascending part, we're gonna follow all the rules of thumb. Changing strings on a downstroke, always alternate picking, and downward pick slant. But if we just go from the 15 there with an upstroke, right back to the 12 with a downstroke, when we move to the B string next to descend the pentatonic scale, it flips the entire technique. Now I'm changing strings on an upstroke, and the only way I can perform it is to now flip into an upward pick slant, or a neutral at the very least. If we practice that, that means every time we change direction doing our cascading fast pentatonic runs, we have to keep having our picking technique flip back and forth, back and forth. It's not rigid, it's not locked in, and it's gonna cause tons of problems. So we don't wanna ever do this. That is the wrong way to do it. Now the simplest way, and so I actually see a lot of guys actually naturally do this, and it's a great thing. The correct way is we have to add an extra pick, because if we analyze what happens on that high E string when we're changing directions, we're getting 3 notes, which is an odd amount of notes. We're getting 12, 15, 12, and then we change strings. That's 3 notes, and that flips the technique, causing the problem. But if we just add 1 note in, so say we're gonna double pick in example 1 here, the 15th fret. So we're gonna go 12, 15 with an up, 15 again with a down, and now I'm free to descend the pentatonic, and it maintains the technique, right? So that takes it from a 3-note sequence to a 1, 2, 3, 4, correcting the technique. Right? If you want to loop both directions, walking up the pentatonic scale, we can just double pick the 12th fret on the low E on the turnaround. So for example, we get something like this. That's a little bit boring because we're double picking notes and stuff like that, but it's important that you see the proper technique right there, and you want to take that with all 5 pentatonic positions, right? So real quick, I'll just run the position 4, for example, in E minor. Maybe position 5 as well. Right? We do that everywhere. I just have it tabbed out for position 1 right now, but you do that with every single position to master. This is part of the fundamentals. We need to do this to lock in everything, get it completely muscle memorized, and we're going to be blazing later on in this video. All right, now moving on to example 2. It's the same exact concept, identical, but a lot of these runs we cascade directionally in a smaller kind of section. We don't walk all 6 strings. It's a little abstract to do so. So what we're gonna do in example 2, if you're following along on the tab, is we're gonna take everything that we just did, but just cut it down to the top 3 strings, the G, the B, and the high E string. And that's gonna look something like this. Right, so I'm just taking E minor pentatonic, so that's 12, 14 on the G, 12, 15 on the B, 12, 15 on the high E. We're following that sequence where we're going down, up, down, up, down, up. We're hitting that with a down to change direction. So that's down, up, onto 12, down, up, 15, 12, down, up. And then we pick that again with a down. So it's down, up, 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 down, up. You can do that with any fragment of 3 strings all over the guitar and using the pentatonic scale. All right, now for example 3, if you're following along in the tab, we're gonna take the same concept, but instead of double picking notes to fulfill this technique requirement, we're gonna add in notes instead. So we're gonna add in the 14th fret on the high E to reverse the technique. That's our F sharp note. And then to change direction to start ascending again, we're actually just gonna go and throw in our major third. We can do all kinds of different notes, and we're gonna do that later in the video, but we're gonna hit the 13th fret here, which is our G sharp, and that's gonna give us an even number of notes per string, maintaining the technique, making it easy. It's gonna look something like this. We walked a pentatonic like normal. So that's 12, 14, 12, 15, 12, 15. To descend, instead of double pick the 15th fret, we're gonna go to 14th fret with our middle finger with a downstroke. Up on 12, go to the B string down, up on 12, G string 14 with a down, up on 12. And now we want to change directions again, so we need to add a note. And so we're going to add the 13th fret with a downstroke, up on 14, and then we just duplicate the same thing we just did. So the right hand is doing the same exact thing as it was doing in example 2, like this. The picking hand doesn't notice any difference. It's only the fretting hand we're adding some extra notes in. Now in example 4, we're gonna do the same exact concept. We're gonna build it up to the entire 6th string. And all we're gonna do is add the F sharp note in. We're gonna add it on the high E and on the low E when we need to change directions. It's gonna look something like this. So just like we saw in example 1, we're doing the same exact concept. The right hand actually thinks we're doing the same thing, but we're adding in a flavor note a little bit, the F sharp, which is the 9, and it sounds really, really nice. You hear all the guys, Eric Johnson, Joe Bonamassa, everybody who does stuff like this throws in that note, because not only does it sound cool, it makes the picking easier. All right, let's go to example 5. All right, quickly let's walk through that. We're gonna start on the 12th fret again, going just position 1, down, up, 12, 15, then 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 15, 12, 15. Now we're gonna move right up to the 17, which is position 2, 17, 15, 17, 15 on the B, 16, 14 on the G, 17, 14 on the D, 17, 14 on the A, and then 17, 15 on the E. And then we just move our first finger all the way back to 12, and we can just loop that. Now, what is it doing? When we're position shifting, we got 12, 15, that's 2 notes. When we move up, we're adding another 2 notes. 1, 2 right there, so that's 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Even keeps the picking perfect, so we can instantly start descending. When we get down here, what's happening was we're getting 17, 15, that's 1, 2. We move to 12, that's 3. Play 15 again, that's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfectly maintains the technique. All right, now in example 6, we're gonna do the same exact thing, but just on the top string set, the G, B, and high E. It's gonna look something like this. So that's G string 12, 14, B string 12, 15, high E 12-15, and then we're going to position shift to 17, ring finger 17, 17-15 on the high E, 17-15 on the B, 16-14 on the G, and then first finger goes back to 12, and we just loop that. All right, now real quick with position 7, we're going to do the same exact thing, but we're going to actually do position 1 and then descend to position 5. We walk up E minor pentatonic for right now. And like we did in example 5, we move positions, but now we're going to move down, so the ring finger is going to jump down to 12 actually. And we're going to descend, that's down, up, 12-10, down, up, 12-10 on the B, 12-9 on the G, 12-9 on the D, and then 12-10, 12-10 on the E and A, and that first finger now is going to move up to 12, so we get this loop again. And just like in example 7 when we took the top string set, you can do the same here. So I'm hoping out of all these 8 examples we went through so far, you're seeing how uniform this technique is. We're always maintaining this technique. The technique is the most important part. Now, I want you to take everything we just did through those first 8 examples. They were mainly around, obviously, position 1. We went out a little bit, but mainly around there. Take them through all 5 pentatonic positions and master them. Master the fingering, get those muscle memorized. It's the same picking technique, but obviously we got to get the scale shape muscle memorized as well. All right, now we're going to go through the very important 6s pattern. There's a couple different exercises and ways of using it. This is very important to get down as well. Then after that, we'll go through ways of using this technique to add flavor notes and different licks to use in your playing. Firstly, very simply, all we're going to do, if you're looking at example 8 in the tab, we're ascending 6s with the pentatonic. And then example 9, we descend the 6s. So all we do is literally play the pentatonic scale. We walk up 6 notes, which is 3 strings, because there's 2 notes per string. And then we continue that pattern. It looks something like this. All we're doing is walking up the first 3 strings, which is the E, A, and D. That's 12, 15, 12, 14, 12, 14. Then we go back to the A string 12th fret, and we start another sequence of 6 notes. 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 14. So that's A, D, and G that time. Now after that, we go back to the D string 12th fret, and we walk up 6 notes. 12, 14, 12, 14 on the G, 12, 15 on the B. From there, we go back to the G string 12th fret. We walk up 6 more notes. 12, 14, 12, 15 on the B, 12, 15 on the high E. I'm going to walk through that very slowly. Now example 9 is the same exact thing, but descending. It looks like this. Starting from the 15th fret of the high E, 15, 12, 15, 12 on the B, 14, 12 on the G. Then we go back to the 15 on the B, and that's where we start our next sequence of 6. That's 15, 12, 14, 12, 14, 12. That's the B, G, and D. After that, we go to the G string 14. 14, 12 on the G, 14, 12 on the D, 14, 12 on the A. After that, we go to the D string, 14th fret, and that's our final grouping of 6 notes. 14, 12 on the D, 14, 12 on the A, and then 15, 12 on the low E. Here's that slowly. All right, now for example 10, we're going to take the exact concept that we use in example 4, which is where we add in the F sharp note to help us change directions, which is on the 14th fret of the E strings. We're going to take that, but we're going to apply the 6-note cascading pattern to it, and it's going to look something like this slowly. Now to round off the sixes pattern in different exercises, I want to jump to example 14 and 15 in the tab, and this is demonstrating how we take the sixes pattern and we use position shifting with it as well to move up and down the fretboard with ease. Now this does require you to hopefully know all the pentatonic shapes and get those muscle memorized, but if you don't already, this will be a great exercise to get you started. Here is example 14. So I'm starting the first group of 6 notes in position 3 of E minor pentatonic, which is 5-7 on the E, A, and D string. So it's 5-7, 5-7, 5-7. It's in position 3. Now we position shift up to position 4 on the A string, 7th fret with our first finger. That's our E note. So we get this. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Now we're going to walk up 6 notes of E minor pentatonic, position 4, starting from there. And that gives us 7, 10, 7, 9 on the D, 7, 9 on the G. So we have this. From there, we're going to move to position 5 of E minor pentatonic, but on the D string with our first finger, on the 9th fret. We're going to walk up 6 notes of E minor pentatonic, position 5, looking like this, which is 9, 12, 9, 12 on the G, and then 10, 12 on the B. So far, slowly, we have this. Now our first finger is going to move to the 12th fret, G string, or back at home, position 1, the classic pentatonic shape, 12, 14, 12, 15, 12, 15 on the high E, and then just 12 to end it off. So example 14 put together looks like this. Now for example 15, it's the exact same pattern, but descending, starting from position 1, down to 5, down to 4, down to 3. Exact same notes, but in reverse. This is how we descend position shifting sixes. Starting on the 15th fret high E, position 1, you have 15, 12, 15, 12 on the B, 14, 12 on the G. Now our ring finger is going to go to the 12th fret B string. A little weird, right? Oh, I messed it up. There we go. That's in position 5 now. We're going to go 12, 10, 12, 9, 12, 9. From there, ring finger is going to go to the G string, 9th fret, which is right here. That's position 4. We're going to descend 6 notes there. So that's 9, 7, 9, 7 on the D, then 10, 7 on the A. And to finish it off, position 3 of E minor pentatonic, D string, 7th fret with our ring finger. That's 7, 5, 7, 5 on the A, 7, 5 on the E. All right, now with all that, you should have a very, very firm grasp of the technique and how it applies to the fretboard and how it looks when we're actually running up and down different patterns. But I want to jump back to example 11 if you're following along in the tab, because we're going to start a new category. This is adding in flavor notes into our runs. And what I mean by flavor note, I really mean any note outside of the traditional pentatonic scale. This could be bringing in notes from the major scale, modes. It could be bringing just almost chromaticism. It can be almost anything. It's just bringing extra notes in, and we're fulfilling our technique and our formula and our strategy to make this happen. So it spices up our playing, but also makes it super easy. All right, here's example 11. Perfect, this one gets quite spicy. Starting off, walking up E minor pentatonic again. This one ends up throwing in the 2nd and the major 6th interval. So this kind of works in the Dorian blues kind of rock zone. It sounds awesome. So we start off very simply walking the G string, 14, 16, down up, to the B string, 12, 15, high E string, 12 with a down, and then our pinky's gonna go all the way up to 17, to 15 with our ring finger. So we have this so far. Back to 12 on the high E with an upstroke. Go to the B string, we're gonna go, we're getting 15, 12, then 14, 15. Go to the high E and we're gonna do this. That's 12, 15, 14, 12. And then to end it off, we just go, just descending E minor pentatonic, which is 15, 12 on the B, 14, 12 on the G, and then we resolve to the E note on the 14th fret D string. So example 11, slowly. All right, so example 12 is centered around position 1 and 5 of E minor pentatonic, but we're throwing in the 6th and the 2nd. You could look at this as either the complete E minor scale or G major scale because we're adding all the notes in at different times. So we're still basing around the fundamentals of the pentatonic scale, but we're adding in the C note and the F sharp. So we start off on the D string 12th fret. We walk up 6 notes. So that's 12, 14 on the D, 12, 14 on the G, 12, 15 on the B, then we go to 13 on the B with a downstroke to 12. Then G string, 14, 12, D string, 14, 12, and then our first finger jumps back to 9. We use that as a pivot to change direction, and we go. So from that 9 on the D string, we go 9, 12, 9, 12 on the G, 11, 9 on the G, 12, 9 on the D, and then 10, 12. So we're getting this little loop-de-loop going on here. Now we keep walking up the pentatonic. We go 9, 12 on the G, 10, 12 on the B, and then 10 on the high E. Then we do another direction shift by going in the lick. So we're downstroke on the 10th fret, high E, up on 14, down on 12, up on 10, and then from there we just descend position 5 of E minor pentatonic, which is 12, 10, 12, 9, 12, 9, 12, 10, 12, 10, 12. So that whole example 12, all the way through slowly. Oh, that's a fun one right there. All right, last example of adding some flavor in before we dive into some epic licks. Here's example 13. All right, this one's actually a little bit easier than the previous example, and we're actually starting in position 2 of E minor pentatonic on the G string, 14, 16. And then we go to the B string, 15, 17. And we go to the high E, 15. And then pinky jumps up to 19 with an upstroke, down to 17 to 15. Then we get 17, 15 on the B, jump back all the way to the 12 with our first finger on the B string. After that, we're going to play 15 with an upstroke on the B string, go to the high E, and we're going to do what we've done many times so far today and go, which is high E, 12, 15, 14, 12, 15, 12, 14, 12 on the G, and then resolve on the E note there. Let's now look at a couple licks that really bring everything together, position shifting, adding flavor notes, polishing up the technique, all put together as a way to also challenge your ability and your technique as you've developed it, but also something you can use in a piece of music. And if you want 3 extra bonus licks, check out my Patreon. It's linked down below. Also, you, of course, get tab for everything today, but also 3 extra cascading pentatonic licks. All right, let's check out lick number 1. So we're going to start off on the A string, which is of the 7th fret, which is our root note in this case, and we're just going to walk up the rest of the pentatonic shape. So, right, so that's just position 4 right there. 7-10 on the A, 7-9, 7-9, 8-10, 7-10. Now to change direction, so we're going to add in the 9th fret, which is that kind of major 6 Dorian note, if you kind of think of it that way. Back to 7, 10-8 on the B string, and then 9-7 on the G. From there, our first finger is going to move up to 9. So we're going to get this. And that's going to be us position shifting into position 5. So far we have this. So first finger's on the E note here on the G string, 9th fret. We're going to walk up the pentatonic. Instead of going to 12, though, we're going to jump all the way up to 14, which is our 9 interval. And then go to 12, 10. So we get 4 notes. And then 12-10 on the B, 12-9 on the G, and then we're going to walk up again. So that's 11-12. So another direction change. Then we're going to the B string, 10-12, and then 11-10. So we're hitting the flat 5, almost chromatic, or it is chromatic, right? And then we just walk down position 5 on the G, 12-9, D, 12-9, A string, 12-10, E string, 12-10. Then we can resolve back to 12 there. Whole lick put together slowly. Lick number 2. All right, lick number 2 is kind of inspired by Phil X, and we're going to start off with the open E. Then we're going to walk up position 2 of the pentatonic scale, which in this case is just going to be E string 3-5, A string and D string 2-5, G string 2-4, B string 2-5, and 3-5, and high E 3-5 as well. This is where the Phil X kind of part comes in. We're position shifting every 4 notes, and we're doing this kind of descending thing. So from here, our ring finger's 5. We're going to slide up 7, and just go. Now we're in position 3. 7, 5, and then B string 8-5. Ring finger's going to end up sliding to position 4. Ring finger 10th fret here. 10-7, 10-8, and then our ring finger's going to slide up to 12. Position 5 now, 12-10, 12-10 on the B. Ring finger now is going to go to the high E again and slide up to 15. That we're back in position 1, so 15-12, 15-12. We just end with a whole step bend on the B string 15th fret. Now that we've covered some epic licks to start throwing in your playing today, let's talk about the important part about practice and how to actually get this going and building and developing. The first thing is, don't start off using a metronome. Start off super slow, making sure the technique is polished. And do not put a metronome on or try to build any type of speed until your technique is fully muscle memorized. If you're still thinking about the scale shapes or thinking about the picking technique, making sure it's locked in, you're not ready to push any speed. You are just gonna make it worse for yourself later on. Once that gets muscle memorized, then I recommend turning on a daily metronome with this, or a drum track or something like that. After that, you can start doing the classic, slowly push the metronome speed up day in and day out. That's an approach. It's not my preferred approach. It's not what I would recommend for you to do. I would actually manipulate rhythmic subdivisions for boosting speed instead of the metronome. So what I'd recommend is taking a static speed. So I'm going to do 100 BPM. I'm going to demonstrate for you. and I'm just going to manipulate from 8th notes to maybe triplets to 16th notes, 60-note triplets. That's what I would recommend that you do instead of always pushing the metronome. All right, so I'm going to demonstrate with example 4 for you, which is where we're taking position 1 and we're walking up and we're just adding our F sharp in on the high E and on the low E in order to help us change direction smoothly. And that's how we're going to start off practicing. I'm going to start off with 8th notes. Now let's try triplets. All right, now let's go to 16th notes. All right, now let's go to 16th note triplets. Maybe jump back to 8th notes. So that's exactly how I'd recommend you do it when it comes to practicing with a metronome. That is all for today. I really hope that this lesson has helped you out a lot and has helped you figure out how to play these fast cascading pentatonic runs that you see Eric Gels, Joe Bonamassa, Eric Johnson, Phil X, all those different guys. There's many ways to go about playing the fast pentatonic runs like they do. This is just the one way I stumbled on that seems to work. It's super reliable. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.